Let's summarize what we learned from last weekend's Monaco Grand Prix. Monaco is a city circuit, so there are no runoff areas. That means that if a car crashes, it stands on the track obstructing the way for others. Because it's a tight track with not many openings in the barriers, there are cranes everywhere to lift cars off the track. And lifting F1 cars is especially interesting right now in the first year of ground effect cars, because it gives us a clear view on what teams are developing underneath the car. So we have seen some interesting developments, and we can even compare them with floor pictures of previous races. Lifting the Red Bull, for example, gave us a great view of their floor. This is the car that seemingly produces the most downforce with the floor, and this one also has the most complex design. Like we discussed in one of my earlier videos, Red Bull is relatively gentle with vertical expansion, but aggressive with horizontal expansion. The latest pictures prove that again, although we can see something like a very gentle kick point here. But it's so gentle that we probably shouldn't call it kick point. Interesting is that the center section stays very slim at the beginning and has some strake-like structures on the inner side. In terms of vertical expansion, it's also interesting to see that the floor stays high for a long time until it drops before the rear axle and expands at the back again. Other teams do this differently, and we will come to this later. But in terms of horizontal expansion, we already discussed in my previous floor video that Red Bull is using aggressive steps to expand the floor. These steps begin with the turning point of the floor and help to expand the flow. Similar steps are used at boats and water planes to separate the flow and reduce drag, so it's easier for the plane to take off. Also, they reduce the length of the attached flow, which improves maneuverability. Here, these steps expand the flow in horizontal direction, which reduces airspeed. If such a step is before the turning point, the flow through it could be slower. If it's behind it, the flow through the turning point gets accelerated and the car produces more downforce. At the front, we can see an air intake to cool electronics underneath the tub, and before the rear wheels, we can see that Red Bull is still using the slotted strake we talked about in previous videos. If we now look at the Mclaren floor, we can see that they're also using these steps at the back. Mclaren has a more aggressive kick point, but unlike the Red Bull, it's located at the second step and not between the first and second. The vertical expansion of the floor shows a light slope downwards to the aggressive kick point. The steps themselves are more aggressive in their shape and don't have the gentle slope design that the Red Bull has. If we now look at the Ferrari, we can see a similar development. When we saw their floor previously, it looked pretty simple compared to the Red Bull. The center section was a large, gently curved surface. Now, on the latest pictures, we can see that also Ferrari added a step. But theirs is a large one that almost looks like another small diffuser. It ends pretty much at their kick point, which would mean that it decreases airspeed there. It reduces suction and could hence reduce the bouncing issue. Because the step itself works like a small diffuser, it could recover some of the lost downforce. But if this feature should really reduce the bouncing, Ferrari could use more aggressive setups. These would create more downforce overall, with less bouncing, compared to the previous design, which had higher airspeeds and hence more suction at the kick point, but the resulting bouncing issue compromised the overall car's setup. So it looks like we can see a development direction for the floors. Teams are very careful in changing their vertical expansion, but experiment with horizontal steps to change flow velocities in certain areas of the floor. Ferrari has a floor with the smallest cross-section in the center of the car, where Red Bull and McLaren concentrate their vertical slopes more on the back of the floor. But apart from the floors, Monaco showed us some more interesting insights. We could have a look at Mercedes' impressive new end plate and their thermal isolation for their fuel tank. We could see Aston Martin and Red Bull doing the same thing. AlphaTauri showed us the inside of their nose with ballast plates and pressure tappings to monitor the front wing suction during the runs. And Haas presented their gearbox with rear suspension and floor supports to us. So we, and of course also other Formula 1 teams, could get some pretty nice insights. And let's see what updates teams will bring for the next races. See you at the next video.